So hello everybody, welcome to our webinar with Metaliquids today. Metaliquid, artificial intelligence for object, face, language recognition and content classification. My name is Tobias Schönhaar and I'm gonna present you quickly what we are doing. It's extreme distribution I'm working for and I'm in sales and business development. Today, as said, we are presenting the Metaliquid solutions and products. And you're going to find us at BVE on booth G24. Please have a visit there, but we're happy to inform you about the parts before now. So today I have with me Tommaso Cesano from the Metaliquid teams. He's head of business development and strategy. And he's going to do the demo with us today. So hello, Tommaso, and thank you very much for being with us. I'm handing you over to start the demonstration now.
Thank you. Hello, Tobias, and thank you all for joining us.
You should have the screen now, if I'm not wrong. Yes.
Yeah. Let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it. Perfect.
Perfect. So thank you very much again for joining us. Today, we want to introduce you to our AI technology and services. First of all, a very quick introduction regarding Metaliquid. We're an artificial intelligence video content analysis startup. We were founded in 2016. The idea was actually came up a year ahead. And our background is in technology and software development. We have 15 years of experience in media, big data, and machine learning. Basically, we are, we could say, a spin-off of a big data and machine learning consultancy company. We are based in Italy, in Milan, and we work internationally. We're now a team of about 16. And so we're here today to present you what we do and what we have achieved and we have for you. So first of all, what is Metaliquid? As I said, it's a video analysis solution. So basically what we do is process content and deliver data about what's happening in content. The features are that our solution delivers data that you're interested in. So we have some fully customizable AI models. This means that we will give you information about that specific visual concept you're interested to detect and recognize in video. So why should you process your contents? Well, as you know, contents are growing exponentially. This means that if you want to have data and manage those contents, then you need to basically automate the process. This means automate the process of something that you had previously to do manually, or you could not do because it was too much of an effort and too expensive. This means basically time and cost savings, means gaining a competitive advantage if you have metadata about your digital assets, and means introducing innovation in your workflow and in the experiences you're delivering to the end users. So what is video content analysis about? Basically, it is about processing the contents you have and understanding, as I said, what happens in them. So who's appearing, what's the setting, what's the language spoken, what's the type of audio, what's the general type of the content, and basically extracting this data, which will be time coded. So you know exactly along the full length of contents what is happening and when. Basically, this is done through AI services which are dedicated to specific tasks. For example, face recognition, as I said, language classification. We'll see this more in detail in a few minutes. And all the data that you receive can be used to enhance user experience or improve the workflow, for example, of content search in archives and content editing. So basically, it's about extracting value from your digital assets. Let's go a bit deeper in what are the capabilities of our AI models. We can sum up these capabilities basically in what you are now seeing. So first one is detection. This means that we detect when in the scene, in videos, specific concepts appear. For example, we can detect faces, we can detect cars, we can detect football pitch. Many things that actually that specific person is. So, or in this case, I've detected there is a brand and I want to know which brand it is. So that's about the recognition tasks. Then there are some more, let's say, tasks we call about segmentation, which are used to understand more the scene and are specifically used also to understand actions. This means understanding what the different, let's say, visual parts of the general context are. Probably you're familiar with you've seen some videos about autonomous vehicles, and you have seen the videos of cameras which understand what's happening in the streets. This technology, and also our technology, for example, for sport action recognition, uses segmentation. And then we have models which are dedicated to, we call it focus, highlights, or saliency. For example, you see here an AI which is able to understand what's the most interesting part of the shot, where the viewer's attention will be focused on. And we'll see this has different applications, technical applications and also business applications. But let me wait. Sorry, I've missed the video. Apologies for this. I need the full presentation. I just had this light version. Here we are. Let's try a video. This is a video which shows you a reel of contents we have processed with our AI. Let's go through this and I'll comment that where we'll see the video and then we'll go more in detail. This is an example of a popular show, you all know that, and you can see we're recognizing faces, friends, so TV series, news, again, faces, but you can see also that we're recognizing other concepts. So here you see on the top right, where we understand that the language spoken is English, and we understand also that here is setting we're not able to understand what it is, but here you see we now see that there's desert, it's a dry landscape, natural light, open area, there's some sand. So we have some tags and also some specific informations. What you see here is our user interface, where you can see all the data displayed. So you basically see what happens in content. I'll talk afterwards about how the data is delivered. This is just the user interface, which shows you what the process results are. We've just seen an example of binge watching functionality. I'll explain you that soon after. And here, sport actions. You can see a goal has been detected. And here we will see that when the red card appears, we have detected the red card. So this helps basically understand highlights in sports content. let's go. We've seen a video, now we'll go more in depth regarding what we have seen. So first of all, it's important to know that our video analysis solution distinguishes shots. So all the information you get is shot based. This means when a shot change occurs, we have the counting of the shots and all the information that we deliver. In this case, for example, you can see an interview of Anderson Cooper, CNN journalist, with Donald Trump, is organized and aggregated by shots. So you see shot 1, they both appear. Shot 2, there's a close-up on Anderson Cooper face, and then it basically goes on. And you have all the information time coded. So you have the frame, start frame, end frame, or time, depends on what's the data that is more useful. Just to give you detailed information about what the data delivered is. Obviously, it's not the UI, the user interface. We use the user interface to explore content, but our solution aims at processing hundreds, thousands, hundred thousands of hours of content. So what you receive is metadata in a JSON format, basically machine understandable format, which you can ingest in digital asset management solution, editing environments, archives, basically where you need the metadata to be stored and to be then retrieved and give you the information. Let's see I've extracted some frames of what we have seen before, so we can basically see this with more slowly. So we can see an example of a TV series, and you can see that data we have extracted here is the identity of the actor in the scene, the setting. We can also train, I'll explain you better afterwards how customization process works, but we could also train on some specific settings, and obviously we can train and upgrade our taxonomy to recognize the faces you're interested in. But I'll go more in depth later on this. We understand that the audio in this case is music because no one is talking, so we understand there's music, and we understand that the type of the content is a movie or TV series, so basically narrative content. Second example, we have here America's Got Talent. You see that we have the two faces which have been recognized, Simon Cowell and Heidi Klum, and then we have many undefined faces in the background, basically the crowds. We can see the setting here is indoor with artificial lighting. It's a TV studio. And then we can see also here there's music because actually the talent is singing. And the TV show is, the content type is a TV show. Same thing for the other examples. So news content, I can apply to news content. And we all know how many contents are produced daily by newsrooms, and then what you need to use them again and extract value out of your archive is make them searchable. So by using AI, you could basically go through all the content you have already produced and use that again. How? Well, basically because you can search with multiple keywords. So for example, I'm interested in specifically Donald Trump and Anderson Cooper. I not only get the whole content where they appear, but I get the exact 10 seconds when they appear together if I'm interested in having this information. Also, I could have, for example, Anderson Cooper and Donald Trump in another setting, maybe outdoors, and I remember I've had this scene where they've been talking indoors and there's been an interview, and I can search for their names and add the tag as, for example, indoor to specify the setting we want search for, and I'll get exactly this clip in my digital asset management solution. We have another example here. It's another TV show, and in this case, we're processing to detect brands, and this can be done. It's usually to measure the brand appearance in content. So basically, monitoring. It's often something which is done also in sports content. We see here sport content, and you can see we have the detection of the type of sport. Again, this is content type. I'll show you later on what the content types we distinguish and classify are, but we can understand that this is not just a sport, but it's football, and we understand what the setting is and the language. It was an Italian match. And here I have an example about detecting sensitive content. So we have a service which detects nudity, for example, and it's obviously based on Western
one question.
detect. So it's based on how we train AI.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You were interrupted at some point. You were interrupted at the point where you explained that it detects nudity.
Yeah. As I was saying, we have AI service which detects and recognizes nudity, and it's based, obviously, let's say sensitive is a culture-related concept. What we think is sensitive is not the same in other cultures. So what we have is a model which is trained to recognize sensitive content in a Western viewers, but it can be trained to have, let's say, broader or more strict sensitive. What's the word? Sorry, to be more strict if needed. So this is all the services we have. These are basically out-of-the-box services which can be also customized. What does customization mean when we talk about these services? Basically, we have a face recognition model which is able to recognize about 1,500 celebrities. It's Hollywood actors, it's TV presenters from the US. There are many Italian celebrities because we're based in Italy, international politicians, many different celebrities. But obviously, probably we won't have all the celebrities or VIPs that a customer can be interested in recognizing. So we can basically upgrade this face recognition model and train it to recognize the faces of interest. Sport actions recognition, this is a service that is almost going to be released. It's about recognizing highlights in football, and we're also working on Formula 1. And this is meant to recognize, for example, goals. You've seen red cards, and obviously we can also recognize players. So there's a goal, and then we see the face of the player, and we can say the goal has been scored by Wayne Rooney, for example. We have an object and product recognition model. This is, let's say, a service which probably is necessary to be customized, because it's usually broadcasters are not really interested in knowing there's a car in the scene or there's a home, there's a kitchen. They're interested in more specific concepts. So let's talk about what the needs are when it comes to object or product recognition. So it may be, for example, for product placement. I need to see when my product appears in a kitchen TV show. We have brand recognition. You've seen an example of brand recognition before. We've seen the sailing boat with the brands recognized, and we've seen the TV show with the Pepsi logo recognized. We have a model which is dedicated to detecting opening and closing credits in TV series. And this means that we can enable the binge watching functionality that Netflix has, and which has given a big increase in content viewing from Netflix viewers. Basically, what this model does is says opening credits start here, end here, closing credits start here, and end here. It might look simple, but it's actually not that simple, because it's not about recognizing when there's basically text. It's about understanding when that text is credits and when it is not relevant to the viewer. So what is interesting about our AI is that we detect and understand when credits are relevant to the viewers. For example, the Simpson theme is something which changes from episode to episode, and it's usually something that viewers want to see. While in other TV series, credits are always the same, and you just want to skip and watch the content and then skip to the next episode. So this is something which is a very, let's say, could be seen as a simple application, but when you have 20,000 TV series episodes and you want to enable a binge watching functionality, this is what you actually need to enable that functionality and get viewers to see more and more content. We've seen the sensitive content model, and we've also seen some examples of content type classification or recognition. For example, you have 10,000 contents in your archive, and you want to classify them to see which of those are TV shows, which of those are news, and maybe you have also many sports contents, and you want them to be classified by the actual type of sport which is played. This is what our content type AI model has been designed for. So basically understanding what's the general content type and giving this information to the whole content. As I said, we have basically 4 categories. So it's news, TV show, movie and TV series, and sports content. And inside the sports, we have 10 sports. This taxonomy will be extended in the future. Right now, we decided to have the 10 sports which are more viewed and broadcasted worldwide. We have setting detection. We have audio recognition, which is basically about understanding what the audio is about. This is not speech to text. We do not offer speech to text. That's let's say completely different AI application. But we understand when there's music, when there's noise, and which language the content is in. So for example, again, you need to classify contents by language, maybe because you have to distribute bundles in different countries. We're able to recognize the overall language of contents. So say we now have 17 languages, and this is also a model which can be upgraded and trained to recognize new languages. Currently, we have basically European languages in our taxonomy. I'll just go through some use cases, but I imagine you all have probably some use cases you would like to use AI in. But basically, AI and metadata, descriptive metadata, can be used to deliver more interesting user experiences. So this means giving viewers more interaction. For example, I'm watching some sports content and I want to know more about the person who appears, the athlete who appears in the scene. We can imagine having an additional layer of stats, or for example, related content. So also this means having a better recommendation and content discovery engine. We can imagine having advertising which is contextual with what is happening in the video. So imagine sport content, a brand appears, we could have advertising of that brand, or maybe a brand ambassador, and we can have the commercial related with that brand ambassador. And on the other side, we can moderate content based on the same criteria. We obviously can better manage content. As I was saying, archives can be made easily searchable with powerful features which make you save lots of time, which help reuse content and extract value from the contents you already have, which represent important assets. And obviously this means also enabling a more efficient workflow when it comes to production and content editing, because the same basically process of searching through content can be used to search through clips or content which is has been recorded and needs then to be edited. We have some technical applications. This means, for example, language classification or content classification for technical reasons. Media monitoring, which can mean many different things. For example, you could want to monitor during some elections when politicians appear and for how long. We could want to monitor, for example, brands or products. Basically, it's a what we can monitor all the concepts that we're able to detect and recognize. So we decided to focus today on more in depth on some use cases, because there are so many. We want to focus and give you some more specific examples. I would like to know if Russell, my colleague Russell Leek, is here with us. Russell, are you here?
1 second. Yes, Russell is on part.
Here we are.
Hello, Russell, our business representative in the UK, and he will present you the next use case, which focuses on content management and content creation empowered by AI. Russell, to you. I'll go through the slides when you tell me to.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tommaso, and I'm pleased to meet everybody virtually. I'm based here in the UK and very excited about this AI world that Metaliquid are bringing to us. One of the things that I've been finding as I've been talking to people is people are quite worried about the idea that, you know, the robots are taking over. And one of the things in this slide is the idea that, you know, it's not about replacing staff necessarily, it's more about augmenting the workflow. So if you often look at a typical production environment, there's a lot of pressure now to increase the content. We need to make more and more content. And it's not, there's kind of two different types of content. There's craft content, which is the stuff you really want to spend time getting right and editing and poring over and spending time over. And then there's social media stuff perhaps, or the stuff that you just want to get out quickly to increase engagement with your audience. And so we think AI can really help with that kind of. And if you look at an 80-20, you could really see that maybe you can have an 80-20 mix of 80% being helped, that churn be helped by AI by improving the scalability, doing kind of face recognition and outputting stuff quickly for you. And that can release the stuff from kind of boring and unrewarding work. An example is language detection. And you can have people looking at content and looking at a minute of footage at the beginning, the middle, and the end, and they look at that just to see what the language is. That's boring work for a language expert. They would much rather, and quite an expensive process for them. So that's something that where AI can really help. And the focus really is on getting that free, those people free, the creative people free to do this 20% of the craft content. And that's what we're kind of showing with this slide. So let's have a look at the next slide. Here
we are.
So here's a perfect example of, if we took the video we were showing earlier, if you just wanted to do a semantic search on Simon Cowell, then it can look through that once we've got that data and it's been analyzed, we can look through and it can pick out all the footage with Simon Cowell. Or next slide, we could do, I want everything with Simon Cowell plus Heidi Klum. Next slide. Or we could say, I want to have it when the 4 judges are in shot. I want to have Simon Cowell and I want to have speech, so to know when they're talking, when they're not talking. So straight away you could see, if I was an editor and I had 5 hours of footage and I wanted to do this manually, straight away you can see how this is improving my creative process, because straight away I'm going to be able to get access to the content that I really need. Let's have a look at the next slide. So the whole point is that you should be able to integrate this with Adobe Premiere or Avid or straight into your MAM. So imagine if you just turn up to your Adobe Premiere edit station, and already you have bins that have created for that search that you set up. And taking that a bit further, what we could do is perhaps have an automated process where it could edit a few clips together and publish them directly to social media. Let's imagine an example where we have facial recognition. Every time somebody's face is shown, we make a quick clip, 1 minute, a few seconds before and after each time they speak, and then we put that together in a bin, and then it's outputted automatically to a QC process, so somebody can just quickly check it and away it goes. So these are the sort of processes that we think can improve the content of that 80% content and get stuff out much quicker. Let's have a look at the next slide. So this is an example of the application, and you can see how.
Thank you, Russell. So as Russell said, basically it's about delivering value, and this means having very qualified people working on very qualified tasks. But as Russell said a few minutes ago, language classification is one of these examples. If you want to classify languages, you actually need very qualified people, because they need to know exactly many languages, or at least, I don't know, 4 or 5 for each of these persons. People, and obviously many languages are similar. Let's imagine languages from, for example, the Nordics or Eastern Europe. If you don't actually know those languages, you might do some mistakes. So how does the automated process work? Well, basically, we extract some spectrograms randomly from the content, and we process those few seconds, and we classify each of those based on the language which we detect in each spectrogram. And then we have an overall language based on all the stats of more spectrograms we have processed during the whole content. And we will say the language is that specific language once we have a very high accuracy. And this means that we can process more spectrograms if, for example, we're not sure, or the AI basically is not accurate. I'm thinking of, for example, shows with multiple languages, where you need to be sure, for example, that 2 languages are in the content. For example, the Narcos TV series, after processing the whole content, you understand there's both English and Spanish. So that's a very specific use case. But in all the other use cases, it will probably process 1 minute and say it's English, it's German, it's French, it's Spanish. And this will save you days and days of work. The workload can be parallelized, and also you can release, as Russell said, very qualified people probably to work on more qualified tasks. Another use cases which is very interesting, which I mentioned before, is enabling the binge watching functionality, because this task, the task of detecting credits, is not needs accuracy. You need to get to the exact frame when credits start, and credits are not always positioned exactly at the beginning. They could be after 3 or 4 minutes. They could be you could have credits at the end of a content, and then maybe have some bloopers, or have another part of storytelling after the credits. So you need to be very accurate in order not to miss content, and viewers don't want to miss content. So by using AI, you can automate this process, have this process standardized with a very high quality and very precise time-coded information, and enable the binge watching functionality. And this functionality will encourage content viewing. You will get a higher engagement from your viewers and increase satisfaction, because no one wants to lose time even when it's about watching TV series. You just want to get in the flow and watch more and more. And this means basically improving user experience on the platform. This is how it works. As I said, basically it's about understanding when credits are. You could have some classic positioning or some inside content positioning of the credits, and you just enable the skip function with the data that our AI is able to deliver to you. To close, just some technical information. We can obviously then share technical documentation, but just to give you an overview, our input is basically video and audio files, which can be basically joint or separate with all FF and PEG compatible formats. We can process library contents or live content. This means obviously different integration and different computational power, but we can get more in detail about this. And basically, our AI process the contents for the services or the data basically that you wish to have back from our solution. And it works via REST APIs. We can deliver you frame by frame information or aggregated metadata. So for example, shot by shot metadata. And the data is delivered in a JSON format, and you can also explore the analysis in our user interface, which you have seen before, where you can see exactly when in the timeline when each concept or entity appears. So this is basically all from this very quick introduction. Let me just close saying why we're different. Well, basically because we're not a general purpose solution. You all know Google, IBM, Amazon, Microsoft computer vision solutions. You probably know you need high technical skills, data science and deep learning skills to use their technologies and also that what you will get from their models is basically general information. This means that you'll know when a car appears, when there's an animal, what animal it is, when a person appears, but you won't probably be able to say who that person is. You won't probably be able to say what the specific setting is, what the brand is. So you won't have the specific information you're interested in, which is really valuable to basically extract useful information from your archives and your contents. What we have done is developed our own AI, which has been designed for the needs of the broadcast and media industry, exactly to meet these needs with high accuracy. So we have some out-of-the-box services, we have specific neural network architectures, which are based on proprietary technology, and we can also deliver custom recognition, so customize the services and enable you to recognize what you're interested to recognize. Thank you very much. And now, obviously, I'm very happy to answer, me and Russell will be very happy to answer your questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tommaso. There have been some questions coming up actually during our session already, but we are still taking questions. Obviously, some participants haven't been participating from the beginning, so don't be irritated if the questions reflect to what you've told earlier. But first of all, thank you very much, Tommaso, and thank you very much, Russell. So I just start with the questions. That one question was, is your product available as SaaS only, or can it be deployed locally as well?
Yeah, very interesting. Actually, thank you for asking. It can be both. It can be both. We can deploy the service in the cloud or on premises. Basically, we suggest to have the service where the content is. So you don't have to send the content to the service. This because obviously we need the media files. So if you have 10,000 hours of content you want to process on premises and you have the services in the cloud, you will spend lots of time, bandwidth, and obviously money to upload the content. And this is another key point which differentiates us from other services. You want us to be on premises where the content is. This is obviously possible. We will just size the hardware we need, which is basically GPUs from NVIDIA, and we will install and set up our solution on your premises.
Okay, and I think the next question is a bit, it goes a bit in both directions, or it concerns us as well both directions, if it's an on-premise solution or if it's a SaaS solution. How does your pricing model work? How is it based on, or what is it based on?
The pricing model is based on the amount of contents you want to process and on the services you select. You're interested in to your contents to be processed with. So, for example, you're interested in processing your contents for face recognition and audio, because you want to know who is appearing and when there's speech, a dialogue. Basically, the pricing will be for the two services and for the amount of hours you want to process. Some services are minute-based, time-based, and some other services are content-based. So obviously, for example, face recognition is time-based, while, for example, content classification or open and closing credits detection is based on the number of contents you want to process and not on the length.
Okay. There is a question about the availability of faces. I think you partly pointed it out at some point during the demo about the prominent people, but how many standard faces do you have in the product available?
We actually basically stopped integrating our model because we can upgrade it based on customer requests. You're interested, for example, a Swedish newsroom, and you're interested in recognizing Swedish politicians or personalities. Then for us, we just basically need the list of names, and if they are public people, we have a tool which semi-automates the process of building the data set for each of the celebrities you're interested in. So we can basically retrain the model to recognize the people from the celebrities from Sweden and deploy the trained model in order for the customer to have the data they're interested in. So I would say it's basically the important part is that we customize this based on your needs, because we understood that there's no purpose on getting to have 50,000 celebrities. We will never get all the people that each customer is interested in. We developed a tool which enables us to easily deploy a custom face recognition model.
When I understand that correctly, it would be you to train the system with the, let's call it, individual faces of the customer's needs, or has the customer a possibility to train the system himself?
Currently, it's us, because what we feel is extremely important is customers to have a high accuracy. And building a data set and training an AI model is an important process to get high accuracy. So we usually take care of this. If the customer has already some data set source, then it's obviously easier for us to use that source to train the model. But otherwise, as I said, we'll use our tools to build the data set with public available images. In the future, we could release functionality which enables customers to do this on their own, but we're still evaluating this. But it's a quick process on our side, so it's probably quicker if we do that.
And is it foreseen that this happens only at the beginning, or is it constantly, is it a dialogue between the customer and you?
Well, usually a customer has a baseline they're interested in. They usually know, at least at the beginning, a list of celebrities or people they're interested in to recognize. And then obviously the model can be upgraded. It's obviously more convenient to, let's say, when you have 20 more to upgrade it and deploy the new model with, let's say, a group of new faces.
Okay. There was another question on the content classification. I think that was someone who hasn't been there from the beginning, but no problem. Could you go again into the detail of what you can classify? Is it only nude skin, or how can you train the system, or what is all included so far on other content?
You mean for sensitive content?
For sensitive and generally on what you recognize. Maybe it's a cigarette as well, or I don't know, the surrounding. Okay. Maybe I give you back the screen quickly so you can go back to the slide as well.
Yeah.
1 second.
Okay. Okay, so, well, here we have an example of nudity. well, this is all the things we can recognize. For sensitive content, we now detect nudity. This means basically breast bottoms nudity in a Western sense of nudity. So you see here the shoulders and the back are not covered, but this is basically because we decided to train the model based on what our main current customers would be interested in. The model can be trained to recognize also other concepts. We recognize some violence, but it basically can be trained to recognize very specific concepts. You mentioned cigarettes. Let's say this is an interesting element because, for example, you can detect smoke in some cases, but for example, in some content, you might understand someone is smoking even if you actually don't see a cigarette. So when it comes to sensitive content, we have to be aware that not always what we can detect and see is all of the content that we would like not to be seen. So it's about also understanding what the use case is and understanding what the accuracy we want to reach is. This is basically, but this is a model which can be trained. For example, we can detect bare skin, but we decided to focus on some parts of human body which you would like to cover in Western countries.
Okay. And once we go back to the language topic, I think you've mentioned in the demo that so far you can detect about 75 languages.
Yeah, 17.
You can easily add more. How can you add more, and is there a pricing implication on that?
Well, how we can add more is basically the training process, which is about building a data set of examples. This is the same process, let's say, in a very general meaning, we do also for other concepts like faces. When it comes to languages, what we use is spectrograms. So we will need to build a library of spectrograms in this new language and train the system to basically recognize these spectrograms once they're extracted from new content. So this is the process, and yes, it can be upgraded. Let's upgrade, I mean, enriched with new languages. One way is that we take care of that, and the other way is, for example, a customer already has some content in those languages, which has been already checked, and we use that content to train the model and then test that on new content. So it can be either way. Basically, it's about building a data set of examples.
And is there a one-off price for a new language, or how would you treat the other languages then?
Well, as I said, it depends. The training on our side can be free of charge if we have a high volume then of processing. For example, for the face recognition model, we do charge when certain volumes of processing are then bought. And for language, I would say it's the same. If a customer commits to a large usage, we can offer this for free. Otherwise, it can have a cost, and this depends also on we have to build the data set or the customer can provide a data set. And obviously, if we have to build a data set, it depends on what language it is. If it's, for example, Asian languages, it will have higher costs because we'll have obviously to have a specific person, expert of that language. So I'm not able to give you a quotation now. It's not a high cost. It can be zero. It can be a small cost.
Okay. So so far there are two more questions. One is going to live content and one OTT. The live content question was if you can use your technology also for live content.
It is possible. Currently, we don't have use cases in live content. Basically, not. We don't know about broadcasters using bid analysis on live content for live applications, but it can be possible. This means analyzing the workflow and understanding where in the workflow to put our, let's say, to put our AI and where to deliver the data. And this means also to understanding what's the computational power required based on the client's workflow and architecture. So let's say while processing archives is something that is basically plug and play, on the live we need more integration.
Okay, and the OTT question is going towards the use cases of OTT delivery enhancements. What would you suggest, or what have you experienced in this OTT delivery part?
Do you mean delivery of? May I ask you to be more specific, more precise?
Yes. The exact question was, what use cases do you address for OTT delivery enhancements? Meaning,
delivery of content, not many. If it's about the enhancement of experience on OTT platforms, then you might
that's
have.
what I can understand, yes.
Okay. Well, basically, there's creativity is the limit, I would say, because OTT platforms means that users are the protagonists. They decide what to watch, when to watch it, and how to interact with content. So with metadata, which describe what is happening in the scene during the content, you can basically interact more and more with the content. You could have, as I was saying before, layers of interaction with the content you're watching. So like, for example, imagine sports content, a football player scores a goal, and I could ask for all the stats from all the past matches of the league of the player. I could ask a collection of all the other goals that player has scored or highlights. I could, for example, do the same on I don't know, elections. So you have elections and you have data regarding the politician who's appearing in the scene in that moment. You could have e-commerce experience without leaving the OTT platform when you're watching, for example, MasterChef. We all know there are many product placements, and people often want to know, well, people interested in those products usually want to know what the specific product is, what are the features. Well, we can detect the product, and the platform can, for example, show a additional layer where you can know more about the product without leaving the platform, and also enable e-commerce features. So when it comes to experience, well, another one is the binge watching functionality. It's we're almost used to that, but actually a huge user experience enhancement, and it has brought to Netflix really higher engagement from viewers. So many and many. We can imagine talking with our OTT platform, and in the future, as we talk with Google Home, we can talk with the OTT platform and ask questions about who's appearing and what's this movie, what are the people, what has happened up to now, and so on. So it's basically based on what you want to achieve with the data.
Okay. Thank you very much.
This is the nice part of what you can do with metadata. It's creativity, basically.
And I think it would be a great opportunity to speak about that in person at BVE, where you will
Absolutely.
be present on our shared booth. This year's BVE is G24. So I think it's a great opportunity to go into details with customers and interested people to see how your solution could address their needs best. So I think we close the demo then, and I thank you, Tommaso from Metaliquid, and Russell also from Metaliquid, very much for your time, explanations, and demonstrations. I hope if there are any questions, please contact either of us. You have the details, or as said, meet us at BVE.
Yes, thank you, Tobias, and thank you all for being with us. And I hope we can meet at BVE in London next week.
Great. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.